Warning, this video contains the topic of playing with fire. Please do not play with fire, and I need to show this title as well. There are no spiders in this video. I think the best way to start this video is light a big fire. My fire pit isn't just any fire pit, it's the back end of a jet engine. The reason I need a fire is I'm working outside, it's winter time where I live, and I'm going to have a bit of an inspection of this compressor of mine which has failed me, very much in Aussie 50 style. Capturing a magpie fight going on next door. Is that mating or is it fighting? Whoa. The magpies are agitated now. Hope that wasn't some bird porno I just shot. It could be a flagged video from that. Anyway, if you can hear me over the orchestra of birds, this compressor of mine failed me just recently. It froze up and stopped, and I suspected it, maybe the piston here had locked solid in the barrel. But what I've done is I've undone a bit of this, and I can see the piston is free and it's actually got oil on it. So that's telling me that there's no problem here. It was interesting when I took the head off, there was a little bit of rust starting to set up in there. But hopefully you can see there's very little wear and tear on this. Now I've got the piston exposed. We can have a good look at the piston and see its condition. It's in very good condition. The piston rings are in good condition as well. There's no scoring on this, but now I can see that I can move and turn the motor. So that's already telling me I've possibly found where the problem lies. And it looks like that the big end has frozen on to the crankshaft there. And although it's very difficult to see in there, I assure you there is oil, but it seems that on these motors that the oil level is absolutely critical. It's also worth remembering when I first dragged this out, I noticed there was quite an oil leak which was going down the side of this fairly new compressor. There's a big warning here about where the oil level should be on this little device, and from what I can see it has just fallen below the red dot. Now that I can see this a bit better because it's all opened up, you can see that it's been made to a price, and yes, I didn't pay very much for this, but I'll tell you what, I didn't expect that it to be seized up so quickly and that the oil level is such a critical thing. And if I do look in at the big end there, I can see there's a bit of colouring going on the metal there. So it indicates to me there's been some heat, and the reason why it has seized up, it's a matter of me trying to work out how to unseize this and see if I can retrieve this compressor back to working state again. So put simply, on this very cheap compressor, that oil leak has sealed this compressor's fate. You know, I've had compressors before, and of course they were bigger bucks ones in the past, and they didn't leak oil, and you could just put them away for, 10 years, basically not even have to attend to them, and nothing would go wrong. But no, we live in a very, very different world these days. While I've got that fire there in the background, let's talk about a few problems that a YouTuber has had that I know. And when is it right to flag a video in relation to fire? This is a very, very weird topic on YouTube, and I see a lot of people getting away with blue murder, and I see other people who do fire stuff all the time getting hammered. So what's going on here? I could send you to a whole bunch of channels and their partner channels and YouTubers, and they've got a setup like this. They've got a gas cylinder, they've got a device which lets the gas out of the cylinder, they've got a balloon here and they're filling their balloons up, and it's also fun. You can fill these up with gas and you can play with fire. And sometimes people dress it up as a scientific experiment, and sometimes just people do it because it's fun. But I'll tell you what, this is a really, really stupid thing to be doing, and I'll explain why. Well, here's my gas cylinder, of course, and here's a little button here that lets the gas out, and I can press it and I can start filling my balloon of gas. But on this model here, if I press it a little bit further, guess what happens? You don't have a guess what happens if I press that button a little bit further? Okay, I'll show you what happens when you press that button. Wow, it lights up the gas. Well, sure, here we have a device which releases gas from the cylinder, and it's got an ignition system in there as well. Now, where in those videos do you hear a warning about the possible chances that the thing you're filling your gas up with has an ignition system built into it? And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that sooner or later children will be burned by this activity. It's only a matter of time. So for the very simple reason that the fact that doing this activity is highly dangerous, you will never see me representing this as something you will see me instruct you to do on my channel. YouTube, in my mind, is a wash of double standards. There are some YouTubers which put up highly educational videos and things that are very interesting, and they get hammered, while there are other people who put up playing with fire videos which have no educational basis to it, and they get off scot-free. So why is this so? You know, I was tempted to put up a video of me filling up balloons like this with gas and letting them off and just testing the system to see what would happen. Would the people who flag this stuff come in and take me out because of my status? Or would I be let off scot-free? With those two items on the ground there, I could show you to do some fairly awesome things. But I've never brought these videos to YouTube because I've always had a fear that the flag Nazis would come in and take me out. And I know these sorts of videos have not been presented to YouTube, and I don't think you're ever going to see it because the fear of being flagged off the tube by these Nazi gangs is far too great. So here's a can of WD-40, and we all know it's a flammable liquid. If I spray it into this fire, does that constitute playing with fire? Or is the secret behind all this to put up a title saying you're potentially going to hurt yourself if you do this activity? I think YouTube need to come clean on this and tell everybody what the rules are, because the flaggers are coming in and are doing immense damage to some very, very worthwhile YouTubers. Now I'm sort of wondering, how am I going to get that unseized? I don't know, maybe a bit of heat and knock it out, or I think it's a one piece. Well, with the chainsaws roaring in the background, I've had my say, I've got it off my chest, and Aussie 50, I support you all the way. I've been watching you for a long time now. I love the way you teach people how things work. You're one of the great Australian YouTube channels, and I think you've got a very big future. But it's really sad there's a minority of people who come along and decide that you should be flagged off YouTube. And I think YouTube need to have a very close look at what they're up to as well. In a partner support video, they talked about highlighting a section of video which can draw interest to a playlist, and they said to put in or to highlight a piece of video where somebody gets hurt or where something explodes. Now, where someone gets hurt or something exploding are two fantastic ways to have a video flagged, and it's all about the way you present the way this person gets hurt or the way something explodes, and that's probably a topic for another video. I don't think I'll be talking about it. Maybe someone will be brave enough to, but I think YouTube, it was a huge mistake putting up that video talking about playlists and having two things like that as a highlight. I think you need to have a very, very good close look at what you're doing and what you're informing people. Anyway, that's my 5 cents on the subject. Well, I suppose I better show you that I did free up that big end, and it was quite simple. Put a pair of vice grips on the matter end, and the seizure wasn't that bad. I'm not sure how well you can see down there, but you can now see the big end is spinning on the crankshaft. It's actually quite free, and I think that's all I'm going to do. It's not really worth pulling it apart any further, and I'm bone lazy, so hopefully it'll go back together and it will work. Ah yes, Aussie 50, you'd be proud of me. Anyway, now that it's working, I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear me, but I can see where the oil is leaking out of this case, and of course there's the oil that we saw right from the start. So I'm going to go in and fix that before this little air compressor is totally fixed. Well, now I've got this noisy little beast off. There are only 4 screws holding this back plate on, and possibly that's a design flaw, and it potentially needs some more screws because we can see that the leak there is quite substantial. And if I look underneath, there's a substantial amount of oil. I've got the lighting assistant here, it's getting dark, and I'll go in and have a look at how that back oil seal has blown. And I should go in and show you the root cause of why this compressor stopped. And of course I opened up before and all the oil poured out. But this gasket here on the back, just getting in for a real close up on the side which blew the gasket. Here's how that gasket should look. That's on the side which didn't blow. Go back to the side which had the problem. It is inside. It has never been put in the right position from the start. Thank you, China, for that. The root cause goes back to the factory. Fairly poorly designed on the back here. It needs some more seating of this back cover, and as I say, you get what you pay for. Well, Aussie, I hope you're proud of me. I better finish the video up here, and we can see the chicken and the egg, what causes the problem and where it gets hatched from, if that makes any sense. Anyway, goodbye, and thanks for watching.
Okay.
Is it still broken?
No, not working.
I think it is broken.
It's working.
You sure it's not broken?
No, not working.